Hey everybody, Emmanuel here. Okay, I got a special treat for you today. I'm going to show you how to work and understand the neck area. Okay, now it's very interesting. There's many perspectives to look at the neck. Let me begin by kind of going like big perspective, like wide perspective. So the first perspective when it comes to the neck is you want to understand psychologically, it's the place of life and death, right? So it is, where you get air, and because of that, it's quite a serious position, right? So even like if you look at sports, if you just making this gesture, whether it's on the street or in sports, I mean, if I was a player on a team and I went by the other bench and went like this, it means I want to cut your neck off or cut your head off or cut your neck. And it's quite serious. Even the gesture is seen as quite serious in our society as well as in sports. So psychologically, it's quite a serious position. And because of that, it has a lot of, I guess, anxiety or fear around it. And we need to kind of understand how to work with this area, right? Now, the other part we have is most of us had a few experiences where we've choked on something. In martial arts, somebody's choked you around the neck or something, and you have like the subconscious mind working, storing information and kind of with unbeknownst to you, like, because that's what the subconscious does, right? Unbeknownst to you, it's hidden deep where there's not a consciousness. You're always protecting this area, whether you realize it or not. We're protecting it in different ways. Like a great example is watching a movie or a scary movie. You see people kind of like as the tension grows in the movie, you see the shoulders come up, the chin comes down, the hands come up. And it's all in an effort to protect this area because it's quite vulnerable on its own, right? So the mere fact of our shoulders coming up can protect the neck enough so that you can at least breathe, right? So I don't want it to go too much on this. It's not the psychology class, but just so you understand, this area has a lot with it, like the psychosomatic effect of this area, right? So it has memories, it has all kinds of stuff, but I'm going to show you how to work from it. And because a lot of movements that come can come in the neck. So we're talking about from the neck. I look at the neck and kind of like the waist or this as kind of very similar in many ways. So you have your head here, and what I first want you to do, and let's begin with this, is first just kind of pushing into the muscles, or kind of, I don't know, I guess you could start by just kind of like the skin, like just kind of touching the skin around your neck, all around, and you'll start to feel how certain parts of the skin, like from here, my skin moves pretty good, but on the back of my neck, I feel it's kind of tight. Like it not the muscles, I'm not pushing the skin, it's not moving as smoothly. Like if you look at my hand, like the skin should move smoothly over, right? I can feel that the skin on the back of my neck, for whatever reason, is not moving as smoothly as the skin in the front of my neck. So I'm going to spend some time just kind of pulling, or kind of like, kind of like that, like pulling the skin around, getting it to kind of loosen. And you could look at it like fascial, right? Try not to get into the muscles, but try to stick into just the skin and get it kind of moving. Now you can get up as high as, let's say where your ear is, and kind of see how, get that skin, like kind of like, with you're moving your scalp or your hair, not your skull, right? So it's like I'm moving the skin on the back of my neck where it's tight. And as the more I move the skin, the better it starts to kind of feel and move as well. So I'm just moving it all around until it gets to the same consistency of like the front, right? So again, not muscles, but actual skin, okay? Yeah, a lot of tension, guys. I think a lot of the problems we have in, I guess, we sit a lot, and we're bent forward, working on computers or looking at cell phones. So the neck does store a lot of a lot of tension. So we'll start with the skin, and I start to kind of move the skin, right? And then naturally, you start to go a little bit deeper, and I start to push into kind of like the muscles. So I'm not so much, I'm pushing into the muscles. So keep your head nice and straight and just kind of push. And again, the muscles in the back of my neck for sure feel a little bit more, what's a good word? Not tight, but it could, I guess tight would be an easier word to use it, but it feels a lot more springy. They're under tension a lot more, right? So whereas the muscles in the front of the neck, I don't know if you can see it there, but it's actually, they're quite, they're like not as, there's not as much under tension. So I'm going to kind of push on those muscles in the back of my head that kind of connect to the skull. And I'm just kind of massaging those muscles. It's two big ones specific. I can feel it right now. Along the side, not so much, right? Here it feels pretty good. I mean, the only reason I'm touching these muscles now in my neck is because I want to feel how different the back of my neck. I need them as a kind of a guide as to how I want it to feel. And I can feel it starting to relax already, right? You can do it different ways. Like sometimes you can do one hand at a time or together. I mean, and I'm not moving my head yet. Like I'm not leaning it at all. I'm just literally keeping my head straight and pushing on those muscles. And I'm using either my 3 fingers or 1 finger, like depending on what I find. And I'm not trying to force that muscle to release. I'm just trying to, you know, kind of like pluck it like a guitar string and just listen to the vibration and slowly relax that muscle and just let it kind of become looser. And I can feel it already loosening up, right? And then slowly, I'm going to start to kind of move, like I'm going to move in the direction. So as I'm pushing on the muscle, it kind of naturally wants to fold. Like if I push on my bicep, it kind of naturally wants to curl in. It's just because I'm shortening the muscle, because I'm pushing in the middle of it, and it's almost forced to. As I'm pushing into my neck, there's this natural way that my neck wants to kind of move. I'm not going against it. Like if I'm pushing and I'm going against it, it's not the same thing. So I'm pushing into the muscle and allowing my head to relax into the position that it wants. Now, the vertebrae in the neck are quite small, quite delicate, and the muscles they're also quite small and delicate, but there's also lots of them going in different directions. So you might have to play with it. Yeah. And then I'm also kind of like, now I'm kind of pulling this way now, I'm pulling forward. Before I was kind of down. Now it's like my head wants to rotate, but it's not rotating because I'm turning. It's rotating because I'm pulling the muscle, right? So I'm literally grabbing and going this way. And so again, I'm just following the natural movement based on how I'm pulling. You can do the same with different parts. If now I'm on the side of my neck, you see as I pull the muscle, it kind of wants to, my head wants to kind of flop to that side. And you know, it helps as you're doing this if you actually have like a little anatomy chart, like to look at, like of the, like I have one back there of all the different muscles that are going to the neck. And as you're doing this, you're like literally looking at the anatomy and trying to kind of push on it. And I can get to different parts. Like see the muscles in the front of that. So as I push on them, my chin wants to drop down. What's happening now, especially as a martial artist, like, you know, there's a lot of stuff that people work on with like headlocks and different chokes and different arts and stuff. And there's this really bad memory that we have in the neck or old injuries that we've sustained that has been thrust into our subconscious, like we're not aware of it. Like our we just learn to protect it and be cautious of it, and it's fine, but then it's not fine too. So I like bringing, that's one of the gifts of being attentive. By working like this, I'm bringing conscious awareness to it. So because of that, what is in the subconscious, I force to my conscious now again, and I start looking at my neck. So now, I look and I say, wow, my neck feels like it's floating right now. It doesn't feel like there's something in between it. The muscles and the skin are quite calm, right? Now, so once I've done some time with this, right, I start to kind of see how, because your neck rotates, right? So it's part of the spine. So, it sits on this, the beginning part of the spine. And what I want to do now is understand how to generate a movement from my neck. So not a movement from my thought, but a movement from my neck. So, but it might be easier to see it like this. So let's try it like this. So I'm looking right at you, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn and I'm going to look to something beside me. Okay. And right after I turn, I feel like the twist in my neck. Like I can feel how my neck is at the end of its range. Once I feel I'm at the end of the range, I'm then going to rotate my body and relieve the pressure that's on my neck. So I'm going to turn now, and almost look over my shoulder as far as it will go comfortable. And then once I feel all that tension, I'm going to release the tension by rotating the body. So the body will always come after to relieve the tension. So my neck is in an uncomfortable, not uncomfortable, but it's I'm looking over my shoulder. There's strain on the neck now. Those muscles are strained. And then I'm going to turn my body, shoulders and spine, to now take all the pressure off. And anywhere you look can be that, right? Like I can look over this shoulder and then my body turns. I can take a few steps, look behind me, and then rotate my body. So it's like what I'm trying to bring awareness to is that when you turn, a lot of people, when they turn, they don't realize the strain that they put on their neck. So when I turn, I feel tension because that's what the muscles do. They're stretching and they're working to rotate. Then I turn my body. And it's interesting to do this for 5 minutes or so. You don't even need to separate training time. Just when you're going through your day, when you turn to look at something, right? And then turn and face it. Turn and look at it and face it, right? To look and face. And I'm just really being very conscious of when I change my head position, I cause tension. And we don't realize that. And over time, if you don't pay attention to it, it'll go into the subconscious. Like really be attentive to what's happening here in the neck, right? So, and it's nice if you can add some walking, so not just in one place, right? So walk a few steps in one direction and then look over the shoulder. Feel the build, rotate. Walk a little bit in this direction, feel and rotate. And ideally, because right now you turn and there's tension, I want you to try rotate your neck and not tighten it. Like have it feel like it does here. Like when I turn my neck, I'm now trying to relax. I'm bringing awareness to relaxing this area even when I turn. And then I turn my body. So it's like I want to turn my head, but not lock my neck. So I'm going to turn, and the moment it starts to feel tight, my body's going to turn. So I'm not going to wait for it to stop. I'm not going to lock my neck and then turn my body. Now it's one movement. As I turn and tension comes to my neck, I already turn. So I don't allow tension to even build up there a little bit. As soon as it's building up, as I start to turn, as soon as it's building up, I turn, and now even the slightest bit, maybe half the pressure or my neck makes my body turn. So I don't wait for full tension and then I rotate. Now I'm rotating as it builds up, and I never let tension accumulate in my neck, ever. Because that's the problem. Like we pick these positions, like we're working on the computer, and this uncomfortable position has gone into the subconscious, right? And then we get, we're like, oh, my neck. And it's not until when we stand up, but that could be an hour has passed, right? So you're first to detect these odd positions, and then how to not allow them to even start, right? So tomorrow when you're like this, you're like, no, 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 no. And you can maybe rise the computer up, or, you know, get an elevated desk so that you're not straining your neck because you realize it. So, and this happens a lot in martial arts. People get you in a headlock and you're in this awkward position and then you stay there. And before you know it, you're like this, right? Have you ever seen somebody walking on the street and you're like, hey, Joe, how are you? And then, yeah, I'm good. How are you, Emmanuel? Everything good? Yeah, you stressed? Are you tense? Because no, everything's fine. Like, they had a stressful day or a stressful event. The shoulders came up subconsciously, and then they never came down. They just walk around like this all day. And they're like, it's not until somebody says, hey, relax your shoulders. Like, oh, I never realized it. And then, you know, you see your shoulders, right? We need to make sure that the first thing is we bring some awareness to any tension that builds up on the neck. And obvious is when we turn, like when we turn and we're looking in this position, right? So instead of waiting till it's locked and there's nowhere else for it to go, make the turn, right? And again, this happens in martial arts too. Before somebody puts their arm completely around your neck and suffocates you, you should maybe have moved moments before that. So don't wait till it's on you, right? Like as it comes around, teach your neck to kind of always free itself from a restriction, right? So let me give you a couple of minutes to try this, right? I'm looking ahead. As I start to turn my head, especially from the chin and my eyes, as I look, all of a sudden I feel some buildup, and I rotate before anything of substance accumulates. It's like a little bit of feedback is coming as I turn, and I turn my body. And there's a different lightness because I'm not pausing. As soon as I see something, I start right away to rotate. As soon as I see something, I start to rotate. Great. Now, you can move from this area in different ways. So I can just think to myself, I want to turn around and turn. Or I could look with my eyes. Like, so either I can be motivated. There's two ways, you know, you look at a bigger picture. You can be motivated by what you see. It might be good or bad, I don't know. You might be motivated by what you feel as well, which is an internal thing, right? So some people upset you by what they say, and just the thought sometimes can upset you. So, or what they do or stuff like that. So now I'm just gonna, in my head, not based on what I see, I'm gonna, in my head, say, I wanna turn right, turn right. And then I wanna say, I wanna turn behind me, right? I'm not looking, I just turn. And what you realize is that the neck rotates based on visual proprioception, right? So, and it's like our eyes lock, like they see something, some makes a sound, and we kind of look that way. And you realize we looked and we locked ourselves already. And then now we're trying to unlock ourselves. Whereas when I say, hey, there's something to my right, I turn from the whole body. So when you're working from like feeling or these kind of deeper ideas, your eyes don't rotate the head as much. So I want you now just to say to yourself, okay, I've got it. I think something's behind me, just turn. And then I think something's behind me, just turn. Or I think something's to my left, I just. And what you do is, rather than have your eyes go first and then your body, you already just turn. There it is. That's it. And you realize that the body can move as a unit much better. It's like we need our eyes to somehow validate before we feel like we want to turn, right? It's hard to explain intuitive work, right? It has like an inner feeling. You feel like I should rotate like this, or it's not what I saw, it's what I felt, right? And it's very interesting. So for now, you just say to yourself, turn and look behind you, or turn behind you, right? And you realize that it's the eyes that end up locking when we want to, look up, and you realize you have strain. Look down, strain here. It's mostly our eyes, right, that cause this. And if we can keep things at the level of the eye, then you put less strain on your neck, right? Something to think about. That's all I'm saying, okay? Now, let's look at the opposite end, because the neck is one end, so, and then the other end is our waist, right? Let's see if I can get this in picture. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here's my waist, right? So instead, when I want to look that way, I'm going to turn my waist first, or my hips, sorry. I turn my hips first. So now it's like I'm moving, like I want to look to my left, and it's like I first turn from my hips. So it's like I turn, the first place I move is, like, I guess you could say maybe your feet would be an easier analogy, right? It's like I turn and I face. So it's like with my feet, I'm rotating, right? And you realize that now, this is really the best way of moving, right? Is through the feet, because you don't disrupt the posture, right? You're not disrupting the posture, which the neck is a part of the spine, right? So when you move from the feet, the whole spine kind of tends to kind of move, right? So when you watch a lot of the really good martial art masters, they don't move much. It's just like this, they step back. They really do keep their posture. If they have to turn to face to the left, they turn from the feet. If they have to turn to face to the right, they turn from the feet. Nothing, they try not to disrupt the posture. Now, again, the neck being the start of it, okay? So it's like at the top end of it, and the hips are like the tail, this hip area being at the end of it, right? Look at a bullfighter. I don't know if you've ever seen a bullfighter, how beautiful they kind of move, right? I'm not saying I like bullfighting, I'm just saying there's an idea, right? So you look at how good their posture is. When I watch the good dancers, I mean, Fred Astaire would be great, so light on his feet, you just see the person, footwork's moving, everything up top is so, beautiful. There's not a lot of strain being put on the spine, whether it's the neck turning at all, but from the feet. So a wonderful practice is almost like, say, pretending, but you really don't want to move your back. Now, I don't have it with me here, but if you have like I have it, but I don't want to go get it now. It's a big broomstick, a big, like a 4 or 5 inch wooden dowel. And you can actually put it down the back of your shirt, all the way down the back of your shirt, and tuck it into like your belt, like just where your belt is right here, right? Now you've got this big wooden stick all up your back representing your spine. And if you walk like that, you realize, wow, because if you turn from the stick will start to move, right? So you have to keep this perspective of a straight back, right? And good posture. And you realize that my main thing is not to give you guys the concept of great posture, is to understand the neck is kind of like the start of some of the problems through our back, okay? Or down our spine, right? And also, I just see people in these awkward neck positions, and they've become accustomed to it. It's become subconscious. They don't realize it, right? So look at the way you need. So anytime from here on in that you need to turn one way or turn the other way or look behind you, try to do it from your feet first. You know, I see people all the time, hey Emmanuel, how are you? And they literally turn, oh, hey, how are you? And then so they've locked their body and then they've unlocked it. So the position becomes locking, unlocking, locking, unlocking, as compared to, hey Emmanuel, hey, how are you, man? Good to see you. Nice to see you. Then somebody, hey Emmanuel, me just turning, hey, how are you? At no point do I lock my spine. I'm very conscious of not rotating. Like, you know, when you rotate, you see your neck, and now my back is locked, right? A lot of injuries originate from that. You see people doing an exercise and they're locked in a position. You don't want to be in a locked position, right? So back to the neck. Anytime you look, anytime you first feel what these positions do, and then you try to move with them, so that yes, my neck can rotate. It's not under strain yet. It's under strain when it gets here, but here it just feels like 50%, and then I rotate. And I never allow my spine or my posture to be compromised for too long. You know, yeah, if I got to bend down, I bend down, but then I quickly come back and I get my posture, right? If I need to lift up my shoulders to protect my neck, I do, and then I put it back down, right? So the other half of the neck is understanding how to keep it safe, right? And this is normal, it happens, right? It's not just martial arts, it's just in general, right? So, and usually by lifting the shoulders towards, like, let's say the ears or the chin, right? And then you put it back down. And when I put it back down, it's like I'm forcing a stretch, like I really am pushing down. And you can see it on thing. I want this gentle slope to my shoulders. I don't want to see box shoulders, right? I want to see soft shoulders. To me, the soft shoulder indicates that there's not a protective response, right? Anything like this, and I can see it in myself in videos when I watch myself. It's like, as I'm teaching a class, if the material I'm teaching, you know, I'm passionate about, I feel really good about, and I start to see, not this, that's a very extreme. It starts to go from here, where there's a gentle slope, to like here, like it's more level, it's more square, right? It looks boxy. It's not up here. It just goes here, here, and then here is where I want it. I want it nice and a soft shoulder. And you can practice this. I mean, this is a little different, maybe for another session. I want you to focus on the neck, but the next part is the shoulder. So just keep an eye on it. Keep that shoulder low. So as far as the neck goes now, let's study how to work with it and maybe contract the neck without a connection to something bad. Like, you know, it's what we put in our mind. So I'm going to make this part of my neck tense, this part here, right? And then I'm going to make that part tense over here. It might be hard to see. And then I'm going to make the front tense, that you might be able to see. And then I'm going to make the back tense, which is easy for me to feel. Now, this is not a strength exercise. I mean, you could add resistance, right? You could add some resistance to these areas. It's fine, right? And you just simply do it by just laying your hand aside. Don't push. Just put your hand and gently, like, lean into it a little bit, but very subtle. I mean, it doesn't have to be super strong, right? Anywhere you place your hand, it's like, see, I push into it. I place my hand and I push in. My hand's not forcing. There's not like a force. It's just, I want to activate the muscles. And the conversation I'm having to my muscles is, it's okay. It's okay if somebody touches your neck. It's okay if your neck gets strong. It doesn't mean somebody's choking you, or it doesn't mean you're choking on something, or it doesn't mean your life is in danger, right? I love watching people on roller coaster rides, you know, and the people that are very comfortable understand that they're being scared, but they're like, ha ha ha, they're enjoying because they've found a way to have a positive experience with fear. like they're being scared, like they're plunging into this drop. And then even though it's a scary experience, they've grabbed their mind and said, it's okay. It's okay. Nothing bad will happen. And you're so when I'm pushing onto my neck, it's not, or pushing on my head into my hand and my neck is activating. I have lots of memories of, somebody, punching or grabbing my neck. I mean, I could easily reference something bad, but I just want to understand and tell my neck, yeah, you can get strong and don't have to be upset about it. And there's a million angles. Like there's like a 45-degree. There's like, you can push from the forehead. You can push under the chin. I could push lower into the neck, right? I could push higher into the back or off to the side of some sort, right? I can push in these different positions. And when I let go, I want to feel my neck loose. It worked, but then it's not tight, right? So if I was, flexing, my arms, doing some bicep curls, after I finish, I want to be able to look at the muscle and it should be able to hang. If it's not being used, it has no business being tight. Okay, that's a real check, guys. When you look at an athlete, a good athlete, like I love watching those 100-meter sprinters. Their legs are massive legs running all the time. But in the blocks, when they shake their leg, you just see this big muscle moving freely, right? You want your muscles, like, they should move freely when they're not being used. And if they're not, they're tight. That means they're under strain of some sort. And to address that, to fix that, right? So the neck is a perfect example that has, especially the back, right? Because of the positions. So we want to bring some awareness to the skin, the muscle, and the way we rotate, right? And way we lock ourselves, and to know how to lock and then unlock, and then to not let it lock. And then to have a higher realization that if I need to look behind me, I can turn, right? I remember coaching or watching this tennis player being coached, and it was very interesting. The tennis player was, waiting to receive a serve, and it saw the ball going that way and took a step, reached with their eyes, kind of swung at the ball. And the coach just said, stop this. He goes, the ball is coming over. First thing you do is position yourself over the ball, and then you hit it back. So first you move and you hit it back. No reaching. Get rid of this. If you're reaching, it's a real, the next ball will be even more unreachable. And it's the same message I heard in martial arts. Don't reach. Don't reach to punch somebody. Don't reach. The moment you're reaching, you're vulnerable, right? You really are vulnerable to injuries and to, I don't know, in all the sports, for trickery, right? So the best thing to do is to put yourself in a position with your feet and not bother your spine, and the neck being the beginning of the spine, okay? So think about that as kind of some homework for you, right? As you go through your day. If I need to look down because, I need to see something on the ground, then I want to be able to always come back to here. But if I spend enough time looking down, eventually this position will become normal and become, I don't want this. And you shouldn't want that. You want to be able to detect when there's been some sort of repetitive thing that has now changed you, and you don't want it. You don't want to let that bad. So good posture, skin, muscles, rotation, see the lock, then don't let it lock, and then move in such a way that doesn't bother your spine anytime. Yeah. And you see the nervous system and your whole body will remain much more relaxed than if you constantly lock up your back, right? Or lock up your spine somehow. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Little trick of how Sistema does the neck. And again, Sistema is a martial art, but it has a beautiful health practice. But you could look at it like, if you're getting punched in the face, and if you have lots of tension in your neck, this becomes quite a knockout quite fast. Or if you're being choked and you tense up, it can mean quite a quick choke. If you could teach your neck to be adaptive, right? your survival goes up. And I don't know if how many of you know, but if you see a lion or a lion's mane, right, around its neck, a lot of people aren't aware of what that is. But a lion, that mane is to protect the neck so that if another lion bites it, it's able to shed that skin and protect its neck, right? And we don't need a mane. You don't have to walk around with a mane. I mean, I guess some people could, but not me. It's best to teach the neck that if it feels pressure or something, that it studies how to kind of move in such a way to pull it out, right? So it's more like, instead of ripping my hand out of my arm, it's like relaxing my arm in such a way that it comes out, like based on the way I rotate, like based on the way somebody grabs you, turning your neck changes it, and you can figure out how to kind of get away from all kinds of grabs or kinds of issues on the neck. But a little bit more of a martial art perspective. But from a health perspective, we always put tension in our neck, and we're always looking down, and we're always like rotating and locking ourselves, right? So try to not lock your neck, and I think you'll find you'll reduce the amount of problems you have in the spine. And in general, you'll feel a lot better, because a lot of cues come from our neck area. Okay. Hope you enjoyed everything. I'll see you next week for some more Systema. Take care, everybody.